Why Gen Z rejected the cars boomers love. Baby boomers. Baby boomers didn't just buy Ford F-150s, they built American car culture around them. For over 40 years, the F-Series has been America's best-selling vehicle, and boomers are the reason why. The F-150 became popular during the 1970s oil crisis, but not for the reasons you'd think. While everyone else was downsizing, Ford made a brilliant move. They separated their truck line from their car line in 1975, allowing them to avoid the strict fuel economy standards that applied to cars. This meant Ford could keep building big, powerful trucks, while other manufacturers were forced to make smaller, less capable vehicles. Boomers, who were entering their prime earning years, saw these trucks as symbols of American strength during a time when everything else felt like it was shrinking. But boomers weren't just about trucks. The Toyota Camry sits at number 2 on their list, and there's a fascinating story here. When the Camry launched in 1982, American car quality was at an all-time low. General Motors was dealing with the diesel engine disaster, Ford had transmission problems, and Chrysler nearly went bankrupt. The Camry offered something revolutionary, a car that actually worked. Boomers, who had been burned by unreliable American cars in the 70s, embraced Japanese reliability. The Camry's 2-liter 4-cylinder engine was nearly bulletproof, and Toyota's build quality was decades ahead of Detroit. Boomers prioritized 3 things: reliability, comfort, and space. They lived through the malaise era of American cars and learned to value vehicles that simply work. The average boomer keeps their car for 8.4 years, longer than any other generation. They also prefer larger vehicles because they came of age when gas was cheap and roads were less crowded. In 1960, only 70% of Americans lived in urban areas. Today it's 80%, but boomers still drive like they have space to spare. Here's something most people don't know. Boomers are the most likely generation to perform their own maintenance. They grew up when cars were simpler, and many learned to work on them out of necessity. This explains why they gravitate toward vehicles with proven track records and readily available parts. The Ford F-150's modular design means you can fix almost anything with basic tools. The Camry's engine bay is spacious enough to actually reach components. These aren't accidents. They're features that matter to a generation that expects to maintain their vehicles. Generation X. Gen X also puts the Ford F-150 at number 1, but for completely different reasons than their parents. While boomers bought trucks for work and utility, Gen X bought them for lifestyle. The 1990s saw the rise of extreme sports, outdoor recreation, and the weekend warrior mentality. Gen X wanted vehicles that could haul mountain bikes, boats, and camping gear. The F-150's payload capacity of 3,325 pounds and towing capacity of up to 13,200 pounds made it the perfect adventure vehicle. But here's the key difference. Gen X bought trucks as family vehicles. The Super Cab and Super Crew configurations gave them the utility of a truck with the passenger space of an SUV. Gen X is responsible for the SUV boom that defined the 90s and early 2000s. The Chevrolet Equinox and Honda CR-V both appear in their top 10, representing a fundamental shift in American driving habits. The original Honda CR-V, launched in 1997, was revolutionary. It was built on a car platform, making it more fuel efficient and easier to drive than traditional truck-based SUVs. But it still offered the high seating position and cargo space that families wanted. Gen X embraced SUVs because they grew up during the crime wave of the 1980s and 90s. Higher seating positions provided better visibility and a psychological sense of safety. The ability to see over other vehicles wasn't just convenient, it felt necessary. Here's where Gen X gets interesting. They're 94% more likely than average to own a Hummer H2. This massive, 6,400-pound SUV perfectly captured Gen X's attitude toward automotive excess. The H2 was based on the Chevrolet Tahoe platform, but styled to look like a military vehicle. It got 10 miles per gallon in the city and took up 2 parking spaces. But Gen X didn't care. They had reached their peak earning years during the dot-com boom and wanted vehicles that made a statement. The H2's 6.0-liter V8 produced 325 horsepower and could tow 8,200 pounds. But more importantly, it could ford 20 inches of water and climb a 60% grade. These weren't just specs. They were bragging rights. Generation X was the first generation to embrace automotive technology. They wanted CD players, power everything, and early navigation systems. The vehicles they chose reflected this. The Honda Accord and Toyota Camry, in their top 10, were among the first to offer advanced features as standard equipment. Millennials. Millennials put the Honda Accord at number 1, and timing explains everything. This generation entered the car market during the Great Recession, when practical trumped everything else. The Accord offered the perfect combination of reliability, fuel economy, and features. The 2008 to 2012 generation Accord could achieve 34 miles per gallon highway with a 4-cylinder engine, crucial when gas prices spiked to over $4 per gallon. But here's what made the Accord special for millennials. It was the first car designed for smartphone integration. The 2013 model introduced Honda Link, allowing drivers to access apps, navigation, and music through the infotainment system. Notice something interesting about millennial preferences? 4 of their top 5 vehicles are sedans. This generation rejected the SUV culture of their parents in favor of more efficient, affordable transportation. The Nissan Altima, Toyota Camry, and Honda Civic all appear in their top 10. These vehicles offered something crucial to a generation dealing with student loan debt and stagnant wages: low total cost of ownership. Here's where millennials get unique. They're 71% more likely than average to own a Kia Carnival. This isn't your parents' minivan. It's a 3-row vehicle that looks more like an SUV but offers the practicality of a van. Millennials are having children later and in smaller numbers than previous generations. The Carnival's flexible seating arrangements and advanced safety features appeal to parents who want functionality without the soccer mom stigma of traditional minivans. Millennials expect technology not as an option, but as standard equipment. The vehicles they choose reflect this. Backup cameras, Bluetooth connectivity, and smartphone integration aren't luxuries, they're requirements. The Honda Civic in their top 10 was among the first compact cars to offer Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. This wasn't just convenient. It was essential for a generation that lives on their phones. Millennials came of age during multiple gas price spikes and increasing environmental awareness. Every vehicle in their top 10 achieves at least 30 miles per gallon highway. This isn't coincidence, it's conscious choice. The Toyota Corolla, their 5th most popular vehicle, achieves 32 miles per gallon combined with the CVT transmission. For a generation dealing with economic uncertainty, fuel efficiency equals financial security. Generation Z, Gen Z, has completely flipped the script. Their most popular vehicle is the Honda Civic, a compact car that prioritizes efficiency over everything else. The current Civic achieves 33 miles per gallon combined, but that's just the beginning. Gen Z is choosing vehicles based on total environmental impact, not just fuel economy. The Civic's smaller size means less material usage, lower manufacturing emissions, and reduced road wear. But here's what's really interesting. Gen Z isn't just buying these cars for environmental reasons. They're buying them because they're practical for urban living. 80% of Americans now live in urban areas, and Gen Z is the most urbanized generation in history. The Honda Civic's 182.9-inch length makes it easy to park in tight city spaces. Its 15.1 cubic foot trunk is sufficient for most needs, without the excess of larger vehicles. Gen Z has also embraced car sharing and ride sharing services. Many don't see car ownership as essential, so when they do buy, they choose vehicles that serve specific purposes efficiently. Here's where Gen Z surprises everyone. They're significantly more likely than other generations to own a Toyota GR86. This rear-wheel drive sports car seems to contradict their practical nature, but it actually makes perfect sense. The GR86 represents pure driving experience without excess. Its 2.4-liter flat-4 engine produces 228 horsepower. Enough for fun, but not wasteful. It achieves 24 miles per gallon combined, respectable for a sports car. More importantly, the GR86 is relatively affordable at $30,000. Gen Z values experiences over possessions, and this car delivers driving excitement without the financial burden of exotic supercars. Gen Z expects seamless technology integration, but they're also skeptical of unnecessary complexity. The vehicles they choose offer advanced features without overwhelming interfaces. The Honda Civic's infotainment system is intuitive and responsive. The Hyundai Elantra in their top 10 offers wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. These aren't just features, they're expectations. Notice what's missing from Gen Z's list? Pickup trucks. The Ford F-150 doesn't even crack their top 10. This represents a fundamental shift in American car culture. Gen Z sees large trucks as wasteful and impractical for their lifestyle. They're more likely to rent a truck when needed than own one full-time. This efficiency mindset extends to all their automotive choices. Each generation's car choices reflect their economic reality. Boomers bought during the post-war boom when gas was cheap and credit was easy. Gen X purchased during the dot-com expansion when excess felt justified. Millennials chose during the recession when every dollar mattered. Gen Z is buying during inflation and climate change when efficiency is survival. Traditional American brand loyalty is dying. Boomers still prefer Ford and Chevrolet, but each younger generation is more willing to buy foreign brands. Gen Z's top 10 includes 5 Asian manufacturers. This shift represents changing values. Older generations bought American to support domestic jobs. Younger generations buy based on value, efficiency, and environmental impact, regardless of origin. These generational preferences are reshaping American infrastructure. Cities are adding bike lanes and reducing parking requirements. Suburban developments are designing for smaller vehicles. The automotive industry is pivoting toward electrification to meet changing demand. Based on these trends, the next generation will likely prioritize electric vehicles, shared mobility, and urban-focused transportation. The era of large, personal vehicles may be ending, replaced by efficient, connected, and sustainable alternatives. What generation are you, and does your car choice match these trends? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.